Hey, so we got our boy from the UK back with us this week, Billy Body. He's got a very interesting story you told me off air about this. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I don't really. Part of me doesn't want to do this story because it will end up in being, oh, you're a mark and you follow around wrestlers and you stalk them and all this kind of shit. When really, like, you know, my son.
You're with your kid, right?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Like, so so these guys who slag me off are telling me that 11-year-old versions of them wouldn't want to meet Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock given the chance. So, oh, well, I can meet the NWO. Oh no, I'm like too. Oh, Dad, I'm too cool to like go and meet them. I don't want to meet them. Like, it's so I'm going to tell the story anyway because the end justifies the means because it absolutely buries Sean Ross Sapp. Sean Ross Sapp is an absolute liar. He makes things up, and I've known this for a long time. In order to get traffic to his site, he cannot have a day off. He cannot have a quiet day, quiet week. He needs to have something, even if it's completely made up. And this week, 100% evidence, and I caught him out that he's lying. And I sent it to Joe already, and Joe has it on his phone. So he said this week that Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens had a backstage altercation. Now, and I'm in the UK, I can phone people and they can say to me, they didn't have that altercation, and I can come on here and say it, and then it's my word against his. I was in Boston. That's the difference this time. I was in Boston. I was at the Talent Hotel, and my son wanted to meet Roman because that's his guy. Like, you know, there's other guys around there. He met Finn, met Alexa, a few other guys and whatever, but it's Roman.
How many times has your kid met Roman? You got a few pictures with him, don't you?
Yeah, so I know he's like one of the only people to meet him this year because he met him at the London Hotel in April, at the end of April. And then prior to that, he's met him a few times, but he's really just become his guy. So it's in line with, you know, me having a favorite NFL player, favorite soccer player, favorite tennis player or whatever. He just, that's the team. It's almost like the team he supports. It's like Roman. Like we go to these pay-per-views because Roman's on them. We wouldn't go to any event or pay-per-view that he's not on. I mean, if you listen to Austin on the Austin did the Informer with me this week, where we look back at like old Survivor Series and whatnot. He actually spoke about, and what was the most interesting thing I think he said was why he doesn't, the periods he doesn't watch. And he actually said from a kid's perspective, when they take Roman and Brock and Logan Paul off TV, he said it in his like kid way, but I'm paraphrasing. He said the WWE are telling him that it's not an important time to watch. In fact, another example he gave was, I was enjoying the Ray Dominic Edge storyline. And then when they took them off TV and they moved Ray to SmackDown, they're telling me that they're not getting back to this till WrestleMania. That's a kid's observation that the company are telling you this is not an important period to follow. So he starts to follow it on YouTube. And he said that, and, you know, in his own way, but like that's the point he was trying to make. So we mainly go to this to see Roman. Now, what I found out is Roman is now moved into a schedule where he comes in for shows and leaves immediately. So there are no hotels for Roman. Like that London thing was a one-off. So in the US, he's now using private airports. So's Ronda, so's Triple H, so's Stephanie. They're using private airports in major cities. I'm not going to talk about the company that WWE are aligned with.
Well, that's not unusual because, like, from back in the NWO days, Eric, whoever the booker was, Hogan, Macho, you know, maybe Sting and Luger, so that they would all after the show use you like 80% of the time private jets. You know, when we're in a loop, you know, like so that so that's not unusual for the star.
Getting back
and
to getting to the story and the meat in the sandwich, Sean Ross Sapp reported this week that after Survivor Series there was a backstage bust up between Owens and Roman, where Roman burst his eardrum because of Kevin Owens. Roman went berserk backstage, had a go at Kevin Owens, stormed out, and refused to do the press conference afterwards. Now, my son, who wants to meet Roman Reigns, was told that Roman's not at our hotel, that Roman is coming in at 4 p.m. And bear in mind, the rest of the talent had a 2 p.m. call time for Survivor Series. Roman's call time was 4 p.m. That's what time he arrived at the private airport. and he was scheduled to leave and be on his plane at 12:30 a.m. That was the time that he needed to be back at this airport. So that's exactly what we did. After the show, after Survivor Series finished, we went down to this private airport knowing 100% that Roman was leaving the show as soon as he was done. We knew we were going to miss Ronda because Ronda was leaving during the show. Ronda left during the show to catch her flight. And Roman Reigns was going at 12:30 and Triple H and Stephanie were going at 1:30. Joe, in front of him, has the evidence. He has my Ubers to the location. Now, I'm not going to name you what the airport is or the company that they're using, but Joe right there has the evidence. He has my Ubers to and from the airport.
Joe, do you have this?
Here is the...
I have the evidence in hand, yes.
All right. Okay.
All right. So, first of all, there was no outburst. Second of all, he was never doing the press conference. And third, you cannot fly with a burst eardrum that was diagnosed. Who diagnosed that in the 30 minutes where he was packing his bag and ran out of the building? And how did you fly with it? He literally flew 1 hour after that show finished. And this autograph that we have was the only one that he did because there was actually a few other people that clocked on that were waiting there. And he said, sorry, I need to go. Austin happened to be inside because it was cold in there. And he said, hey, please, I'm from England. Can you just sign mine? And he did. So he was the only one that got it. But the fact is, from earlier on in the day, from 4 p.m. Eastern time, I knew that Roman had just got in and I knew the exact time he was leaving. I knew he wasn't going to be at the press conference. I knew that Triple H and Stephanie were going to be doing the press conference and they were going to be leaving afterwards. Now, as I said, I know what this leaves me susceptible to because we have a somewhat toxic members in our audience that are going to turn this into, oh, you did this and you did that and you're this and that, whatever. Listen, I'm flying from England to Boston. I'm pretty secure of my successes in life when I can decide to take a holiday to Boston on a week's notice. So say whatever you want. The fact is, Sean Ross Sapp's a liar. This story is 100% proven to be a lie. There was no confrontation. I've even checked that side of it. There was never going to be a press conference. And there sure as wasn't no burst eardrum that was diagnosed by somebody 20 minutes after the show when he needed to immediately leave. And then they allowed him to fly on a private plane with the burst eardrum. Lies, 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 lies. 100% caught out lying.
All right. Well, you got so the story is the story you're providing here is there was no story. So, like, yeah, well, that's basically the story, right? Yeah, that's right. Sometimes, but Billy, I like it. I like it that you did like hardcore. I like you did hardcore guerrilla journalism here and got on the ground and got the went straight to the sources and stuff of the story, right?
Yeah. See, what happened was
that you're like Project Veritas, right?
Yeah, I heard that he was going to report the burst eardrum story, and I decided to go to the airport after hearing that he was going to report it to check that if he was actually going to get on the plane with the burst eardrum or not. No, it was done the other way. Like the story came out a couple of days afterwards, and I just could not believe what I was reading because from being there on the day, I knew all the information at the time. And as I said, like Joe can sit there. Joe, you got my cab time, my Ubers, right?
Yes, I do.
Yep. So that's it. Like I knew all of this in the day. And then 2 days later, I see this absolute story. And the reason why it is a story, why my story now is a story, is because all of these people, they run with it. All these little wrestling.co and wrestling source and wrestling news. Whatever.
Yeah, a lot of these places source Meltzer and Fightful for their stories.
Yeah, because I was just reading right now one of those random wrestlingnews.co sites, whatever, and it does say Dave Meltzer recently confirmed there was a left eardrum injury. So Dave's reporting it too, not just Sean Ross Sapp.
Yeah, but he's reporting it off the back of Sean Ross Sapp. I mean, okay. and Dave, like at the moment, is just piggybacking off everything. Like, I mean, and that's the most interesting thing about Dave this week is how he actually criticized AEW, and I don't know whether that's a case of the relationship.
I'll give Dave. I'll say this: Dave does criticize AEW sometimes because I listen to a lot of his clips on YouTube and stuff, and he will be critical, right? But it's like, for a show that's like underwhelms in the ratings, he'll be critical like 20% of the time. me and Conan will like look at the numbers of the show. We're saying, okay, this is probably why the show didn't do good numbers like 80% of the time, because like 80% of the time they don't do good numbers. So it's kind of a weird flex with him in that I think that Tony stonewalling him on a lot of the Punk news and stuff, I think, because like he hasn't really, you can tell like when he talks about some of the stuff that he's not getting anything from them. They're being kind of like carny about it and stuff. Like he's been critical because I think he feels they're withholding information. So in true form, he's kind of being critical of the product now because he's mad at them for not giving information. Is what it comes across as. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or it's reached a point where his credibility, if whatever's left of it, is actually going to be damaged if he continues to defend this product. Because some of the stuff that I've seen in the last 3 weeks has been so nonsensically bad that you can't defend it. Like you started a storyline with Regal when he's leaving. Like who?
Yeah, that's what Dave was critiquing. Dave was said like this made no sense. It's like if you want to get heat on MJF, you're getting heat on the heel that had solar heat for screwing over Moxley, and Moxley didn't get the guy back. It's like Moxley should have been the one that hit him in the back of the head and clobbered him and would have got a big pop, and then the Regal's gone. But he used MJF for it, which didn't really make a lot of sense for heat, babyface, heel. Just the whole story just didn't made no sense whatsoever.
I mean, he should have attacked. The easy finish was you do something to Regal during a match. Moxley's concerned about him, and you take advantage of that situation and you win. Like that. Right. That's how is that like Jose Lothario and Shawn Michaels and Sid in 1996, where he hit Jose with a camera in his heart and he pretended he has a heart attack. So Shawn was distracted and Sid beat him. That's the finish you do. It's easy. Right. Like you went down this convoluted route of you turned Regal and then you turned MJF on the heel, who just turned a week ago, and now he's leaving for the WWE. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Bro, the funniest thing about it is I constantly, because I don't block people, and these people don't even follow me, but I'll tweet something, I'll say something podcast, Sports Key to Ringside News, or repeat one sentence of something I said on the podcast. Everybody piles on me, you're there because like I think like me and Ben did the AEW review or reviewing WB last week, and he just made the comment. He goes, "Do you think Dakota Kai should be in the main roster?" I'm like, not really. Just that was it. So there's a big headline on Ringside News: Disco Inferno says Dakota Kai should be fired. Right? And I'm like to clarify this. I'm just saying I'm looking at Dakota Kai. She hasn't done much. She's kind of underwhelming. Should she be on the main roster? I'm like, okay, no, because you got tons of girls in NXT. That's what you have NXT in the factory down there for, is when people are not performing on the main roster, just send them back down there and bring some more people up.
Yo, what up? This is Conan, and I host Keeping It 100, my co-host, Disco Inferno, unfortunately.
Well, I'd say you're my co-host.
Listen, every Thursday here on Spreaker, we talk pro wrestling, sports, movies, music, TV, pop culture, and some politics. It's everything the rest of the pro wrestling podcasts are not.
Tune in to hear myself, the superior one, educate and inform.
Tune in to hear me bury Disco.
That's very disrespectful.
Join us every Thursday on Spreaker and keep it 100. Boom!